Hello guys and welcome back to Custom Gamer. My name is Daz and this is the show where we talk about level design while playing cool maps. We're finally here. It's the final map of the Honey Map Jam. If you're unfamiliar with that term, what it basically means is that mappers were given a theme, in this case Honey, which was a map released for Quake by CZG quite a while back but had a very striking theme to it. So mappers had around 2 weeks to create a map in the Honey theme. There was not a competition, it was just a map jam, i.e. mappers were just asked to create the best they could in 2 weeks and then ship it off into this pack. So on the final map today, this is called Vendricks Viaduct by Sock. Anyone who plays Quake maps should know who Sock is by now. He's released a lot of very good maps over the couple of years he's been mapping for Quake. He's also the author of the stealth mod for Quake called In the Shadows, which is a fantastic Thief-esque mod for Quake which turns it into a bit more of a stealth game with an action component should you desire. It's definitely worth checking out. I'll stick a link in the description below the video if you want to check it out. But as for today, we're looking at this map, and then we'll move on to Map Jam 2, which is another, 9 maps or so. Alright, let's do it. So the first thing I noticed about Sock's entry into this pack is that it's a lot smaller than a lot of the others. Just in terms of architectural scale, it feels a lot more intimate rather than a lot of the other maps which really went for that grandiose kind of Honey theme with huge expansive rooms, you know, filled with fog. Stayed very faithful to the original Honey look, whereas Sock has kind of shrunk everything down quite a bit. It's a lot more kind of close quarters. It's still got a lot of the architectural motifs, like you've got the long windows on the walls here, pits of fog that lead to death. And lots of things like archways and all these kind of things like that. It's all present, but it's just a lot smaller now, and I quite like it. It still works, I think. The fog is a bit closer to make up for it, so you still get that sense of kind of epic architecture in the distance. And everything's got that Sock feel, so lots of things like wall torches, bands of colour all over the place, lots of steps. Of course, as you've already noticed, lots of lifts which you can activate to create shortcuts back to lower areas of the map. You'll see lots of that later on. And some classic Sock secrets, or in this case not so secrets, where it's just kind of items up above that you can't reach at the start. Gives the player a heads up to explore the environment. As you're seeing here, you can grab a nail gun early, you can grab a shotgun early if you ride that lift up that the ogre was on. So the Sock secrets are well and truly intact. One thing I will say about this map is that all the areas feel very samey. It feels like Sock created a whole bunch of prefabs and then just kind of stuck them all together like Lego to create the map, and didn't spend too much time making areas feel unique. No room really stands out above the others. I mean, you could take screenshots of this map from just about any area and it would be hard pressed to actually work out where you were in the level. There are a couple of things you can use as landmarks, things like these death pits, and there are a couple of larger rooms with things like giant lifts in the middle which are used for gameplay, which are really cool by the way. But generally the map does feel not copy and pasty because areas are different enough, but there's just never enough individuality to each area. I think it detracts from the level in a way. But to make up for it, you've got the tried and tested Sock gameplay, which I like to call tactical, although I'm not quite sure it's the best word for it. What I mean by that is that Sock sets up very deliberate encounters with enemies that is meant to provoke a certain response from the player in dealing with it properly. So there's not, I wouldn't say very many ambushes, but there's always lots of interesting encounters where you walk into a room, it will seem kind of easy, there'll be a couple of enemies off in the distance, but as you move to engage there'll be some ogres hidden around corners, there'll be like a Hell Knight up above that jumps down. It all feels very dynamic. Sock does a great job in all of his maps really of just setting up combat encounters and making them really interesting. There's a lot of great monster combinations here which I've talked about a lot in previous videos, so I'm not going to rehash it here, but Sock does a great job in mixing up the enemy variety into great combinations, which makes it difficult and challenging for the player, but fun at the same time. There's lots of interesting opportunities in this map as well for infighting, because there's lots of Hell Knights, lots of Ogres, plenty of Knights running around, so there's lots of opportunities there to create infighting to make things easier for yourself. Saying that though, the map really isn't too hard. I mean, I'm playing on hard skill here, as I do with pretty much all of the levels I do on Custom Gamer, but I never really felt particularly worried about what I was facing in this map. So here's the lift in the central room here. This is a really cool idea, having a lift slowly lower down from above so you can't see what's on it. And then when it lows down enough that the enemies see you, all hell breaks loose. There's so many enemies on that lift. If you found the grenade launcher secret, then it really helps here, obviously. But it's a really cool idea. It's used again later on, where lifts that have lowered before will actually raise back up with enemies on them as well when you're at the top of the map. And that works just as well. It's a really cool idea. But generally, the map uses just a couple of enemies at a time, unless it's in a big kind of set piece like that room there with the lift in it. And that's what I mean by tactical, I guess, is that there's never really a horde of enemies, but you have a couple of enemies, but because the level's fairly small, you kind of have to be intelligent about how you engage. Now, one niggle I do have about this map that really annoyed me actually at the beginning is that there's a lot of health right next to ammo, and ammo situation is fairly tight in the beginning, and I always ended up trying to pick up the ammo and picking up health as well because they were too close together, and I had like 98 health and I was picking up health packs and wasting a lot of it. There just seemed like no way to get around it because the items were too close together. But saying that though, once you get to about the midpoint, there's plentiful ammo to go around, especially if you find some of the secrets. Of which there are 10 in this level if I'm not mistaken. I think I find 7 in this particular playthrough. I found 8 in the one before, but I couldn't remember where it was. I looked around a couple of different times to find it, but yeah. I have a feeling there's a couple of demon doors, which is another classic sock secret. There'll be a demon head on the wall and you have to work out how to open it. It's a recurring theme in all of Sock's maps, which I really like. So here's the MLG Pro moment. I won't tell you how many times I had to re-record this demo to get that right. It's more than 3, I'll tell you that much. This is a cool secret because you can grab the lightning gun, jump across, and then you actually find another secret to grab the rocket launcher, so it's kind of crazy. I'm not even sure if you're actually meant to grenade jump across there, because it feels like you're entering this secret from the wrong direction, because there's a teleporter on down that corridor there where the shambler comes from. That's one way, so you can't actually use it from this side, which feels a bit weird if you come at it from the lightning gun secret. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what's going on there. I have to deal with this shambler so we can run across. There's me saying there's absolutely no real horde combat in this map, but when you grab the rocket launcher on the side of this bridge, quite a few scrags decide to teleport in and say hello. I guess it's the only area in the map where you really feel like a horde is attacking you, but you know, it's a rocket launcher, you want to make it a bit more difficult once the player grabs this weapon. It's kind of interesting really, because if you think about it, the rocket launcher is really overpowered in Quake. Once players grab it, you really have to step up the difficulty of the level, because players can just mow through just about anything with it. It's really a case of, yes, the weapon is completely unbalanced in that it will just kill everything, aside from, I guess, shamblers. So as a level designer, you really have to think about, when the player grabs the rocket launcher, what am I going to do to balance the level around that? Because if you don't do anything, then the player will just run rampant through your map. I think Sock does a nice job with it here. You get that huge ambush with all the scrags. Is that one-way teleporting I was talking about? I'm guessing there's another way into this secret, but I haven't found it. I suppose it's worth noting, as we're having a bit of downtime here as I get lost in the level, is that Sock was the one who organised and ran the first and second map jams. So say thank you to him for organising all this. We got some incredible maps out of it in Jam 1 and Jam 2. In fact, I think Jam 2 had a higher pedigree of maps in it overall. some incredible levels, so thank you very much, Sock, for organising all this. We've had more single player levels in about 2 months than we generally get in, I don't know, half a year or more. So yeah, it's pretty incredible. You can see here we use one of the shortcut lifts to get back up to the second floor. I think I talked about this in a lot of Sock maps, but this is something he does a lot to incentivize players to explore the map, I guess, because if you're on a multi-tiered map like this, it can be dangerous to drop down to the bottom floor, because if it turns out there's nothing there, you have to walk through the entire level to get back to where you were. It can really de-incentivize players to actually explore your levels. So Sock has these fairly frequent lifts which you can activate from the second floor by use of a button, like I've just done here. And it creates a shortcut lift, so if you do want to drop down and explore, perhaps find some secrets, do whatever you like, there's a quick way to get back to where you were. And they're all over the place in this map. You walk past them on the first floor, you see all these inactive lifts above you, and then by the time you get to the second floor and activate them all, you know where they go because you've walked past them on the bottom floor before. So it's pretty cool. It solves that age-old problem of players like looking down and saying, oh, that looks cool, but I don't want to go down there because I'll lose my place in the map. So here's the room with the giant lift in it. This is the area that the lift came down and we had a big fight, and now when we re-enter the area on the second floor, the lift comes back up with another big fight, in this case Vors rather than Hell Knights ogres. So it's cool, keeps gameplay fresh, having different enemies each time. Although I think it would have been nice to perhaps have some knights on the lift as well, just to put some pressure on the player. The Hell Knights generally tend to get stuck on the opposite side of the room thanks to Quake's amazing next-gen AI. And grab the silver key. The silver key door isn't perhaps picked out as much as I'd like it to be. It's on the opposite side of the lift here, and it's just kind of like a little grey icon on the wall. It's not really lit up. It can be quite easy to miss, as I did on my first playthrough. But that brings you right to the gold key, which you can spot from the very beginning of the map. You saw me looking up at it right at the start. You grab the silver key, open this door, then grab the gold, and you can drop down right to the gold key here. It's got a very, very quick key progression, which is interesting because you spot the gold key at the beginning of the map, and then you're not given any other keys throughout the entirety of the level. You have to kind of always keep in your mind that you want to get to the top of the level to grab the gold key. It can be easy to forget things like that if you're playing long enough. You kind of forget what your original objective was, but in this case I think it works. If the player looks up and spots the gold key at the beginning, that's the killer. Getting players to look up, yeah, that's the tough job. Alright, so that was the Honey map jam. It is now complete. It's taken me way too long to get through all these maps. I'm sorry, I've been busy streaming, doing other things, so yeah. So we're going to take a break and do probably just some standalone maps for a while, and then we're going to go on to Jam 2, which is another 8-9 maps, but they're fantastic, so it's going to be great. Alright, thank you for watching everyone, hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you next time.